Hello, everyone. Welcome to 10 Minutes with Barb and Ron. Barb Gentili Green here.
I wanted to see if you thought I was froze, Barb. But anyway, Ron Rogers, and it's 10 Minutes with Barb and Ron, and we're just anxious to get started here. And it's a little bit darker than normal because it's a lot later than normal that we're doing this. So if Barb tends to fall asleep, we'll know because it's past her bedtime. But she is on Eastern Standard Time, though. It's just to let you know. So anyway, we've got a great topic, I think, this time, and Barb and I are pretty excited about it. We're going to talk a little bit about classroom management and that universal design for learning type of a classroom. So one of the things I think people sometimes forget about, Barb, is that the classroom is very important and should probably be set up for everyone to begin with before school even starts. What do you think?
Well, I agree with you that it's super important to have everything set up so that when the students walk in the first day, they kind of know what's going on and feel comfortable in that space. But talk to me a little bit about how you might set up some of those routines and rules and expectations that you might have in the classroom. Would you do that ahead of time?
I think I would set up some examples and run them past the students because it's a partnership. We're trying to create expert learners here. So to create expert learners, we definitely want their feedback. So one of the things I would do is I would meet my kids at the door, shake hands, welcome them, maybe even have the first student that shows up be a volunteer to take them and escort them to their desk, show them where things are, kind of introduce them to the room and the layout. That's one of the first things I think I would do.
Yes. Yeah. One of the things that takes some time once instruction gets started is finding where all the materials are held. So whether it's an elementary classroom where there might be some extra pencils and scissors and glue, or a high school classroom where there might be those resource books that they're going to need, or the place that they might look to find assignments for the next day. If we do those things ahead of time, it saves us some time during instruction.
Yes, and every minute that we can devote to instruction is so important, I think, because those minutes start adding up. It's kind of like, if you've got 10 people that's supposed to be at a meeting at 10 o'clock and we wait because one or two people are late and we wait 2 minutes and you take that 2 minutes times the 10 people, that's 20 minutes wasted right there in 2 minutes with 10 people that we're paying salaries to, or somebody is. So I totally agree. Instruction's even more important than that, for the kids. They shouldn't miss a minute of it. So I agree. I agree. One of the other things that I always like to think about too is, so for example, the kids come in and we get in and I introduce them to a few of the things that's going on. I always like to make the rules together with the students. What are we going to be able to live by? What can we live with in this classroom? And can we all agree to it? Or maybe not that we can agree to it, but can we live with it? It doesn't have to be a democracy. It can be something that we may not totally agree on, but yet we can live with it. And I think that's sometimes important to teach kids is it doesn't have to be we're all 100% in on it. However, is it okay that we do it because we can live with it? So that's something I think is worth some time too to help with the expert learner.
I agree because, think of any time that you have been involved in the development of something. Right away, you have a little more of a vested interest in its success. And so classroom rules and the way classrooms operate, that's no different. So if I have a say in how that might be, maybe not 100% of my ideas were taken, but just that feeling that it was important enough to be asked and to be engaged in that discussion. So then when it comes time to monitor how we're doing with those expectations and rules, we're going to, first of all, know them better because we participated in creating them. And we're going to be able to give each other some feedback about how it's going.
Yes. And when it comes to flexibility, I think we could have some flexibility too on how we do certain things. Maybe the kids they might have a better idea of how we could line up for lunch, or the best way to get ready to go either walk home or get on the buses. They might even have an idea on how can we organize the classroom in such a way that we have maybe certain people assigned to pick up before we get ready for buses. So that way the janitor doesn't have as hard a time cleaning the room as he could if there's a lot of stuff laying around. So maybe we could assign people to different jobs, I guess. What do you think?
That's great. I think that's a very good idea. And, that can also apply at the high school level. There's not typically jobs, so to speak, at the high school level, but we may set some rules of engagement when we're having discussions. Maybe we have somebody who kind of monitors and makes sure that everybody's voice is being heard. We call it a process observer in some of the meetings that we attend, but the same kind of thing is important in the high school. We want to make sure everybody's engaged. So maybe there's somebody that's kind of looking out for somebody who has never shared their ideas. And I think another thing that I've seen when I've gone into classrooms that's a good thing to set rules together is, what does small group work look like? How do we engage with each other in small group? Who's doing the working? Who's doing the talking? What does that look like and sound like when a small group is functioning the way that it should, so that everybody can learn? So that's just one other example I thought about, that might be kind of maybe forgotten sometimes.
Yeah, I totally agree. I absolutely agree. And I keep going back to elementary, and you keep throwing us into the high school, and we have to remember both. And then of course, middle school's in between. But I was just thinking back to a high school teacher. I didn't have her, but I was in her class after I was out of school a few times to observe. And I liked the way she made the horseshoe and had discussions that way instead of before that classroom when I was in it, it was just straight rows and the teacher was up front. But she would have the students reorganize the classroom so there's a giant horseshoe, and then I think she always stood or sat there in the opening of the horseshoe, or whoever was talking or had the topic would sit there. But the topic would change and people would rotate, and it wasn't always her. And I always thought, well, that was a good idea,
Oh, I love that. You're always so great about bringing some of the physical environment of the classroom and how that can make a difference in how people engage. And so when you first said horseshoe, I'm like, what's he talking about? But then I realized it's how the students are arranged in the classroom. And so I can visualize that, and I can see how we could all be looking at each other if we were in a horseshoe shape. That's hard to say, Ron. So great idea.
Yeah. And the three people, that's in the curve, they may not be able to see each other, but they could always hold hands if they wanted.
Well, I never thought about that, Ron, but I guess that's true.
So we've got 4 minutes left, Barb. So we're sitting pretty good on time. So we have that environment. We've kind of, thought about setting up a strategy so students have more skin in the game. The idea, I guess, too, is teachers go home so tired because it seems like teachers do all the work where, it really should be the students doing the work. And the classroom management should be set up to make sure that the students are the ones that are working and learning and being the expert learners. And I'm not sure if we take that time and really visualize it beforehand or think about it during. Sometimes it's easier just to do it.
Right. Yes. And I love how you talked about who should go home tired at the end of the day. And it's the person who's, doing the thinking and the working. And we want that to be our students, because an expert learner is really somebody who is engaged and really thinking about what they're learning and being involved in that learning activity or environment. And so, I just lost my train of thought where I was going with that, Ron. But
well, that's okay.
You know what I mean?
That's okay, because you just
expert learners.
You just triggered my mind for something else. So that works perfectly. Still in the high school setting, I think I just want to stay there for a little bit. I'm thinking, as a high school student, I would have loved to have created the syllabus for the year or for the 6, whatever, whether it's a half semester, semester, or year. But I would like to have had input on, okay, how many tests possibly, how many formative tests, can we do some projects, can we go outside, we've already talked about room arrangement, can we have speakers come in, and we could help as students to bring in speakers because we know people out there in the community too. And wrap all this around our learning because we want it to be real. We want to know how that works in the real world. So that's kind of another thought.
Wow. That's a mind-blown thought, Ron. That is amazing to think about kids giving input into what the learning activities should be in the classroom. Talk about expert learners. And everybody can think about it through their lens of what works for them as a learner. Like you gave so many great examples. So a speaker coming in, I get really super engaged and can connect with somebody when they're talking about something that they are passionate about. So that makes me a little more excited. How many tests and how many formative assessments over the course of the 9 weeks or semester? Whoa, wouldn't that be super exciting to have input from the students? So those are some powerful ideas you just gave to our listeners.
Well, that's it for Ron then. I'm out.
He can't top it. He just did a fantastic job on that. So he is out and I am out because I have nothing more to add to that brilliance that Ron had. So see you next time on 10 Minutes with Barb and Ron.
YouTube, please subscribe, like, comment, and share.